The Red Bull Junior team is one of the most famed motorsports academies that try to find and prepare the next F1 superstar. Daniel Ricciardo was one of the drivers from the junior team that managed to climb the motorsports ladder all the way up to the top with the aid of the Austrian energy drinks giant. This has also been reflected in his helmet designs, as it's pretty much mandated that the Red Bull drivers have huge Red Bull sponsor logos on their helmets in specific areas. I found this pretty cool graphic a few years ago, clearly explaining how the team's sponsoring guidelines can massively affect the helmet designs. As you can see, the Red Bull helmets are the worst. They unfortunately don't allow for much artistic freedom, as their sponsor logos take up most of the available space. I think this is one of the reasons why Sebastian Vettel had all these different helmet designs back in his Red Bull days, to kinda stick it to them and show you could still be creative with pretty much the same basic design. When Daniel Ricciardo left the Red Bull family in 2019, he could finally let his creativity flow for his helmets. Surprisingly, he didn't go for an Aussie-themed helmet, nor did he stick to something corporate to match his team's colors. No, Daniel and his design team really went out of the box, creating these very colorful asymmetric designs. Even though I can't say I'm a fan of his designs, they are something very different indeed. His helmets do stand out and are at least very recognizable, something that can be said for every driver these days. The helmet I have here is certainly not my favorite of his lids. That would be the Dale Earnhardt Intimidator helmet he wore at the 2021 USA Grand Prix. I mean, if they would ever make that one in mini version, I'd be all over it. Anyways, when Daniel won what would appear to be his last win in F1 at Monza 2021, I decided to buy the mini version of that helmet. So let's now have a look at this half-scale version of Daniel Ric's Arai GP7 helmet from the 2021 Italian Grand Prix. This mini helmet was actually not launched as a race-specific design, but as the standard one he used for most of the season. Luckily, he didn't use a special design for the Italian Grand Prix that year, so this regular release can pass for an Italian Grand Prix version with a few minor mods on it. The box I have here then is a McLaren branded one, as you can see from the team logo on the top. The front face then has a render of the helmet with Danny's name here, and the inscription, this is a 0.5 scale helmet. Here then is Ricciardo's chosen number 3 and the season it's from, and in this corner is a McLaren swoosh logo. Funny about the render is that the top part of the helmet is printed in the wrong way around, let's say, with the visible word being good instead of ways. The other face then has another render of the helmet, but now seen from the back, and here too you can spot the misprint on the top. In the dark background of those faces there are some sort of measuring lines, and these continue on to the sides with a light green teal background. On one side is Daniel's initials DR with the number 3 in this blocky pixelated font, and a small McLaren logo on the bottom. The other side features his number 3 only in the same font and style. The bottom of the box then has all the usual info like its manufacturer, where it's made, and the QR and barcodes. There was another style of packaging too. I think this was for the helmets released on Daniel's own personal website. This box art is similar to the helmets, basically copying the design. I do prefer that box to the one that I have, but I mean it's just a box in the end and I wouldn't know what to do with it other than just storing it. So this mini replica helmet then is based on an Arai GP7, even though this Mini is actually manufactured by Bell, or at least a subsidiary of Bell in Bahrain. This isn't new, however, as Bell has long been the leading company behind the half-scale helmets. So this Arai replica they make is not perfect, although they did improve on the shape of the shell after 2021, I believe. The older version was not really shaped correctly, to say the least. One thing, however, that is still not good on this version are the visor fixings and pivot screws. I mean, they just reused the very old ones, which don't look anything like the ones on the real Arai GP7 helmets. You can even see it on the render on the box. that these should be totally different. Luckily, I got some better looking ones from the fantastic people at Half Scale Accessories. My mini helmet here has some more upgrade parts on it, but I'll glance over these modifications in another segment of this video. Another thing then that is not so good on this Arai Mini are the air vents at the front. As you can see, these are just decals, and that's a real shame. On the older versions they used to make real cutout vents with a mesh behind it. Knowing that they had these more realistic vents makes this new version look crappy and extremely cheap. Let's now check out the very vibrant in-your-face design then. As I mentioned in the intro, I'm not a real fan of this helmet. The colors don't really work for me, and the combination of these pastel blue and purple stripes, the large spotted light green pieces and the big orange letters is not really a good match in my opinion. I also don't think it looked too good in the papaya orange McLaren car. So the design then has been created in conjunction with Ornamental Conifer, a British artist with whom Daniel also worked with to make his Renault helmets. This helmet is mainly in a green pastel color with some darker green spots in it, and these spots however are a bit too pronounced on this mini version, they weren't as visible on the real one. The top then features a big wavy cross in papaya orange as a nod to Daniel Ricciardo's new employer at the time, McLaren. The slogan surrounding "It's always all good" is a message of positivity according to Daniel and represents acceptance of all people regardless of race, religion and any walk of life. All across the helmet then there is this sort of ripped wallpaper look with these pastel blue and purple lines underneath it. The left side of the helmet has this orange sort of folded card, let's say, with Daniel's initials on it in big blocky letters, and a big number 3 on some sort of orange ribbon stuck underneath the green wallpaper. The right side has no such details and is completely clear. On the back then is a piece of green paper again that stuck with his nickname Honey Badger on it in the same style and colors as the slogan on top. Beneath that is an Arai logo and another piece of ribbon with the artist's name Conifer on it. On the chin part, the eye-catching Yes logo is featured, and these are from an Australian telecom company called Optus that is still one of Daniel's personal sponsors. These Mind's mental health charity logos then are luckily printed in the correct position for it to pass as an Italian Grand Prix helmet. When the helmet was launched, these logos were lower down in the stripy parts, as you can see on the render of the box. Another difference with the box art version is the crypto sponsor logo on the front, which is missing on the render. So to say this helmet is certainly not my favorite design is an understatement, but I kinda respect how different it is. It also typifies Daniel Ricciardo for me, with it being a bit different than what we're used to see. Although I don't think it will win any beauty prizes, it does stand out, and that actually makes me like it a lot. The fact that it's also now the helmet of Daniel's last race win makes it even more special in my eyes. So now on to the modifications done on this mini helmet. And I mentioned the visor pivot screws and the fixings that needed to be replaced due to the original ones being completely inaccurate and just a poor recycle job of the old style Arai ones. These new ones that I have look brilliant. The only downside is that the visor doesn't move anymore with these on there, although that's not a real issue I think. The visor then needed most of the work, and a tinting film has been added too. I did apply it on the insides to give it a fainter and more diffused look. These tariffs and the tension posts for it have been added too, as this little FIA visor homologation logo, and the visor strip that was different from the original one to match the Italian Grand Prix spec. A rain grommet rubber then has been added on the top of the visor as well. On the top of the helmet then the air vents have been added too, with the vent dummy dots. Finally then these nice Arai engraved handstrings and fixings have been added too on the helmet, replacing the old generic ones. All of these upgrades really elevate this mini helmet, I think, and make it look much more realistic. And if you like these parts and want to get some too, then go out and check the half-scale accessory page on Facebook for all your upgrading needs. I'll put a link down in the description below. So in the end, I can say I'm very happy with this helmet, especially with all the upgrades on it. Even though I don't like the design and I even think it's a bit ugly, I do like what it represents, with it being the helmet Daniel Ricciardo wore for his last Grand Prix win. I also like how different it is to the current crop of helmets we get to see these days. This one does at least stand out and is also quite recognizable, which can be said about most modern designs. So now I would like to ask you, what is your opinion of this Daniel Ricciardo helmet? Do you also hate it and love it at the same time, or do you think it's genuinely really good or simply trash? Let me know in the comments down below. So thanks a lot for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to check out the other content too, like the review of Daniel Ricciardo's McLaren from that same Italian Grand Prix. In the meantime, take care and see you again in the next one.